Alright, everybody, this is Phil Birch coming in once again from the Salt Cave, and I figured I'd do some question and answering today. I got a couple questions over the past few weeks that I just haven't had time to answer, being in Canada and then trying to recover from that, playing in a weekly. It's just been a really tough couple weeks with school and everything, so I figured I'd try and help that out right now. Um, Thanks again for the questions, everybody. And obviously, if you have any more, just keep on sending them. You can send them to my YouTube, Facebook, Jasco Games account, any of those things, and I will be happy to answer them for you. All right, so I've got my first question here is going to be from Kevin Broberg of Rochester. He asks, is the move toward powerful six-hand size characters and extremely powerful attacks good for the game? I kind of disagree with what he's saying here. In general, I don't think that we're moving towards power attacks in the game. I think that we are at a really good place in the game right now, with the exception of maybe a few characters. I like the attacks. I like the foundations in the game. I like everything like that. And I would say that having six hand size characters viable is great for this game right now. With just seven hand size viable, it's it's been a long road, and I feel like six hand size finally deserves it. We went from eights being the most powerful down to sevens. Now we're trying to even it out with sixes, and I don't necessarily hate this. I think it's good. I know that personally, when I make my character, he's going to be a six hand size character. I love six hand sizes. I think that they're fun to play. I think that they take a little bit more skill to run, and I believe that their effects are finally catching up to their seven hand size counterparts. Like just within Red Horizon and Tides of Vengeance alone, I think we see a lot of six hand size characters that could probably compete. More so Tides of Vengeance actually, with characters like Vincent Gray, with his powerful abilities. Maybe Vespera definitely. She's pretty pretty over the top good. Natalie is great. Um, and that's I mean stuff like that. Just you kind of Alice top eight can Nats. You have to have a balancing thing, and the six hand size have to have nuts like pretty nuts effects. I mean not crazy crazy. They don't have to be the best ever, but they do have to be able to compete with seven hand size. And I think if there's no competition, the game just falls down and becomes like I guess I don't know Magic, where everybody's playing seven hand size and pretty much has 20 life. And I don't necessarily know if I like that. I like the variation. I like that I can play any hand size right now, and I can pretty much compete. We had Mr. Karate in top four or in top eight at Cam Nats. Mei Lian wins PTCs all the time. She wins team championships. We have Skullmens that show up all over the place. It's just really awesome. I think it's a great spot right now. And powerful attacks, I think he's probably trying to refer to cards like Sagaki's, Tribs, Paralyzing Touches. And I'll be honest with you, I think the only like real powerful attack we have right now that's probably too good is Paralyzing Touch. I think Trib's fine. It's got no block. It's a two check. It's a six difficulty. It's fine. You just have to know how to play around it. Don't smash your opponent into desperation. Sagaki is just a really good balanced card in my opinion. Has good stats, good everything, but it's got three speed. It's whatever. I think Harnessing Chaos might be too good, but even that, it only does 3 damage and just hold low blocks, I guess. It makes you hold more than one block. Yeah, I'd like it. I like the format. I love it. I think it's pretty awesome in my opinion. All right. These next two questions are going to be addressing my video on aggro. I got these in that category pretty much around the same time I made that video. Our first is going to be from our resident Canadian, Garrett Brett, the king of UFS, pretty much. He's pretty good at this game. And he asks me, what are your thoughts on the newer types of aggro, post-promo release, Mai and Kyo, both of which, in my opinion, are creating a bit of splash in the southern states? Uh, I think you're dead on with that assessment, Garrett. I think that the southern people love them some aggro, and I think that these Mai and this Kyo, really both Mai's and both Kios are they're good they're good aggro decks. I don't think the Mai is super consistent as an aggro deck, but I don't think stacking is super consistent as a mechanic, and I'll back that to the day I die. But that Mai can hurt. That Mai hits hard. +3/+3 on the foil Mai. +1/+1 extra on the other Mai's. Those all can those damage and speed that adds up, and it's really hard to block if you don't know how to prepare for it. If you don't have any speed reductions or leave yourself enough foundations ready to be able to survive these type of situations. And then both the Kios have kind of they're both either damage pumps or things like that, and they both have ways of generating momentum. Or well, not both of them, but one has way of generating momentum really quickly, so he's good for like tribs, multiples, things like that, along with boosting his check, so he can do it really early. And then the other Kyo, as long as he's gaining or as long as your opponent's keeping a solid amount of cards or blocks, you're holding, you're getting one or a one. And I'd like to say that Kyo is probably the worst of all the promos that came out. I like the Iori better than that Kyo. I like Terry better than I like that Kyo. I think that Kyo is very limited because your opponent's just going to play. They're going to play their game, but they're going to hold less cards. I think he's especially bad against cards like Despair, where they only really have to hold one card, and they can just do that for every single turn. And Despair is a really huge part of the game right now. It's not great. Um, I don't think any of them will be winning tournaments like that recently or anytime in the near future until maybe they get some support in King of Fighters. I think that they will. They probably will show up in Top Cuts though. I can't guarantee where. Maybe in some of the Ranbats in the southern states. Maybe some circuit events in New York when they get that going again. Maybe even U.S. Nats or regional. But I don't think they're going to be like showing up for the wins at Worlds, things like that. I just don't think they're strong enough. There's still better aggro. Mitsurugi I still think's better aggro. I don't know. I just don't like. I don't think I like them, but I do think that they will be making a splash just to some extent. All right. My next question is from Lazy Lantern. He is also from Canada. I'm not completely positive where in Canada because Canada's big. And he asks, can you elaborate on combo decks? He says, as he recalls, it should be its own archetype and not brushed into the aggro category. That is something I'm going to disagree with as well. Where there's really three types in this game. There's aggro, there's defensive, and then there's control. And combo decks aren't control decks. Combo decks aren't defensive decks. They're aggro decks. They have to be aggro decks because combo decks require you to beat your opponent up. Combos are more than one attack in the same row, so how could they be anything but aggro decks? You have to kill your opponent with the combo usually. The combo does all your damage, and then stuff like that. Or even like cards that don't necessarily have combo, but are decks that do combos, like Superior Technique shenanigans, Clandestine Research shenanigans, Yunsung to an extent shenanigans. Those cards are all still aggro decks. I mean, all weapons is an aggro deck. I don't care who tries to tell you it's not. Garrett made like a control aggro hybrid, but it's still aggro. AJ's deck, AJ's air deck aggro, like they're still aggro decks. Like they don't do as much attacking like over an extended period of turns. They don't just keep attacking like aggro decks, but they strive to attack you with one combo, and usually they need that whole combo to hit you or to kill you, but they don't play defense. They're not like, hey, I'm sitting behind my wall of cards, now let me hit you with my combo. Now let me hit you with my 16 attack string of superior techniques and Garrett actions and Sagaki offerings. That's not how those decks run. Those decks are very, very aggressive decks. They just have to set up like every other deck. So I hope that answers your question of why I brushed combo decks under the aggro rug. Alright, our next question is from Scott Gaines. He says, what decks would you least want to stay across from right now? what are my top two least favorite decks to play against? This is a little bit of a tougher one. I'd say I don't like playing against the Angels with. All right, let me back up a little bit. We'll just still say we'll do this for my Vespera deck. Which two decks I didn't like to sit across from with my Vespera deck? Because obviously it's going to vary depending on what deck you're playing and what matchups you think are favorable, which ones aren't favorable. And I'd say my top two with the Vespera deck, I didn't want to play against the Angels. I still don't know if my matchup's great. I lost Worlds. I lose some test games against them. I learned a lot during Cannats that I might be able to fight a late game deck, but I'm just not super confident in my ability to beat the Angels hands down. I think they would make it a really tough, really long game, and in rounds it would probably either go to a draw, or if whoever got the first game would definitely win it. There'd be no way it just finished. They still can play a really good slow game, a really good slow burn game with throws, with Omniel's effect still. It's just a little harder now. It's not impossible. Keith from Michigan still is going to make top cuts in probably the foreseeable future because of how good of a player he is with that deck. And everybody's sleeping on him. People probably got ready for him for that one event, and they're just not even going to care anymore. They're not going to prepare for him. The next deck with Vespera I really didn't know my matchup for or want to see was Kazuya. Tim Keefe's got a mean Kazuya deck. And I've never tested Vespera against a Kazuya deck. I feel like I could win it because I'm a smart enough player to adapt, but I don't know how it would play out. So I was kind of worried about that. Like at Cannats, I was kind of pulling for Garrett to beat Tim, even though Tim Keefe's my boy. I knew I had a better shot at beating Garrett. Despite how great of a player Garrett is, I was positive I could beat him. It's a weird thing, but it's just kind of something I knew. Kazuya is just his ability to wipe the field when you're playing a defensive deck is just it's unbelievable. And I believe that's probably why Tim Keefe is still doing that, because good decks, life decks, are still very popular, and they will be popular for a long time, in my opinion. So those are my top two least favorite decks to play against in the current meta. So yeah, and then I'm going to move on to my last question, which is from Tim Keefe. He wants me to go over the winners and losers from the Bachelor Prize support, the promos, the new King of Fighter promos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over a couple of my favorites, and then I'm going to go over which characters I think benefited the most from them. Some of my favorites, probably right now, I'm going to say Clandestine Research, I think is amazing. Being able to just dump what's left of your hand, pick up your attack, should probably guarantee a win. Or to pick up like Templar, anything like that is just really strong. Then I'm going to go with Yadamir Restored. I think Yadamir brought a lot to Earth and Void, just because of the low block especially, but the effect is very good. It's not something that you're going to have to say, oh, that card's not going to be played. It's really going to be a powerful card, especially in the near future, I'm pretty sure. When somebody figures out like how to get those two symbols running, I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be a really good card you have to deal with. Next, I'm going to say So Sweet Diculous, because that card is Sweet Diculous. Sorry, I had to do that. I'm sorry, really I am. But that card is nuts. Like, hey, how do you deal with me? It pretty much is what that card looks like. It sits there and it's like, you have to pump your attack. You're going to have to pump your attack so that I have to block it, and I'm going to have to use the Sweet Ridiculous, or you're going to have to deal with it forever. And if I have another one, guess what? You have to waste your cards to do it again, because that card's no joke. Like, I don't know if you've ever played against it. I'm sure most of you have. I'm sure tons of you have it by now. We've been doing this prize support for like 2 months, so I'm sure there's tons in circulation. It's just hard to deal with. You kind of got to make them pop it quick, because you don't want them to be sitting behind that and some crime fighters, because there's nothing worse. But like, I think those are my big three. I'm gonna go with those are the big three from my experience in the new promos. Definitely. And I'm gonna go kind of along those lines and say the winners and losers because of those cards. Like just the winners, really, I guess. I believe Clandestine Research made the Unsung a very good character, something that people might actually have to see in competitive play at this point. I believe Paul Bittner got better because of that card. John Hurd got better because of that card. And basically, any all deck got better because of that card, just because of All's ability to even draw back their hand. Um, Water, I can see playing it, especially if they're running that great teacher, the great teacher water deck that we came across here in Michigan. You can really do some nasty stuff. Dump all your attacks, great teachers and stuff. Pick up Rising Typhoon with Clandestine, and just kind of hope they are dead. They're just dead. That deck's once it gets going, it's crazy. Um, for Yadimir, I think it helped King. King for the low block, definitely. Um, Played King for two major events, a couple regionals, played PTCs, and I definitely know that I needed low block. I needed low block I could just play without having to worry about how good it was, or without having to worry about how bad it was, I should say. And that card's definitely going to help. Its ability to try and turn off something is really good as well, definitely. Satoshi also for the effect. That card's very good in Satoshi. The low block too. Void doesn't have any low blocks. But Void Satoshi with that card is just kind of nuts. You just first E, hey, your card doesn't have an effect anymore. Like that's crazy. That's very crazy. Hurts everything. Like it's just another pretty much enhanced skip for Satoshi, and that's good. That's very good. Like I can't wait to see a Void Satoshi that can run well enough to like beat the opponent into the ground with like enhanced skips, Yada mirrors, stuff like that. I think that's quite good. And Sweet Ridiculous, I'm gonna go again with King for the low block. Got to give a lot of love to my boy King off of Earth. I love him to pieces. I think we might see him some more in some tournaments in the future, especially from yours truly. I think I might try and play him at Nats or at least a regional. And then we got All in Life or Good in Life didn't need it, but they gave it to him anyways. Fucking Angels got it. So now Angels can sit behind Crime Fighters, Torn Heroes, Rebirth, Sweet Ridiculous, everything. And then Amy and other good decks with 7 hand size and stuff like that got it, which I guess they needed it too. They were like, hey, you know what, Amy? You're really bad against something that's super fast. So here, have this Sweet Ridiculous. Save yourself. And yeah, it's kind of crazy. Um, I liked it. I can't say that the promo match was a bad thing for the game. I think those cards are really good. Some of the characters are awful, but that's neither here nor there. Actually, all the characters in those promos are awful. But yeah, those are I think my winners and losers for at least those three cards. I could obviously go through every single card if I had a list of them, and I could tell you what's good, what's bad, what's this, that. But I'm not going to do that. So those are my questions today. That's my first Q&A. I hope you all enjoyed this. I hope this encourages you to leave me more questions and maybe try come to value my opinion at least as a pretty good player in the game. I'd love to help all of you people there. I love helping new people. I love helping you if you're just trying to get back into the game and you're an old veteran. And I love giving my advice to even some pros that maybe you just need a different take on the meta from a different area. These videos are all pretty much for you guys. I like making them too, but like they're definitely for you guys. So if you have any questions, like I said, just leave them in comments, anything like that, and then hit subscribe, and we'll try and get a lot of viewers for this because the more viewers, it makes me feel like people actually enjoy watching these, which I would love more than anything. Um, so yeah, let's just hit subscribe, and as always, this is Phil Birch signing out.